Good evening. Right now, the world is standing at a very dangerous edge. Not the kind of situation that builds slowly over months, but the kind that suddenly tightens, like everything is being pulled toward a breaking point. And in moments like these, it's not just about strategy or power anymore. It becomes about timing, pressure, and the decisions that are made when there is almost no room left to think. At the center of all this is one man, Donald Trump, and a deadline that has changed the entire tone of this conflict: 48 hours. That's the ultimatum he has placed in front of Iran. A very clear demand: reopen the Strait of Hormuz completely without any threat to global shipping. No disruptions, no interference, no ambiguity. And if that doesn't happen within that time frame, the warning is just as clear. The United States will target Iran's power infrastructure, starting with its largest facilities. This is not diplomatic language. This is pressure at its highest level. And when ultimatums like this are issued, they don't exist in isolation. They force a reaction. They push the situation forward, and whether anyone is ready for it or not. But here's where things become even more tense. Iran has not backed down, not even slightly. Instead of stepping back, they have responded with defiance, strong words, clear rejection, and most importantly, action. Because while this 48-hour clock is ticking, the conflict itself is already escalating. And across Israel, the sky has not been quiet. Sirens have become part of daily life again. And then the moment that changes everything, a ballistic missile cuts through the air fast, precise, and powerful enough to challenge one of the most advanced air defense systems in the world. Israel's multi-layered defense, designed specifically to stop threats like this, is put to the test. And this time, it doesn't fully hold. The missile gets through. It strikes a residential area, not a military base, and not an empty field. Homes, buildings, places where people live their lives, completely unaware that within seconds, everything around them would change. The explosion tears through the structure. Walls collapse, windows shatter. The front of the building is ripped apart like it was never meant to withstand something like this. And inside, families, dozens of them, people who had no role in any of this, suddenly becoming part of it. And before anyone can even process what just happened, another strike, a second missile, a different cities, same result: destruction, panic, injuries. Within just 24 hours, over 120 people are reported injured. And these are not isolated incidents. These are part of a pattern, a response that is becoming more intense and more frequent and more dangerous. What makes this even more serious is the location of these strikes. They are happening dangerously close to sensitive sites, including areas connected to Israel's undeclared nuclear program. Now think about that for a second. When missiles start landing near nuclear-linked facilities, the stakes are no longer just military. They become global, because one mistake, one miscalculation, one unexpected escalation, and the consequences could go far beyond anything we've seen so far. Meanwhile, as all of this unfolds, the United States is not standing still. Military movement is increasing. Thousands of additional Marines and sailors are being deployed into the region. Ships are being positioned. Forces are being prepared. But here's the reality that often doesn't get enough attention. Sending troops is not the same as solving the problem. And because controlling something like the Strait of Hormuz is incredibly complex, it's one of the most strategically important waterways in the world, and it's heavily defended. Iran has spent years preparing for exactly this kind of scenario. Fast attack boats, coastal missile systems, layered defenses designed to make any operation extremely difficult. So even with increased military presence, there is no guarantee of quick success. And that's what makes this situation so volatile, because while threats are being made and forces are being moved, there is still no clear path toward de-escalation. And instead, everything points in the opposite direction. More pressure, more risk, more uncertainty. The ultimatum itself tells you everything you need to know about how serious things have become, because targeting a country's power grid is not a small step. It's not symbolic. It's not limited. It affects everything. Hospitals lose electricity. Communication systems shut down. Transportation collapses. Entire cities are pushed into darkness. And the people who suffer the most are not the ones making these decisions. They are the ones living through them. At the same time, voices from around the world are beginning to speak louder. Calls for ceasefire, calls for restraint, appeals to step back before things reach a point where they can no longer be controlled. Even Pope Leo XIV has spoken out, describing this war as something that affects the entire human family. And that perspective matters, because this is no longer just a regional conflict. The effects are already spreading. Energy markets are reacting. Oil prices are rising. Shipping routes are under threat. And when those systems are disrupted, the impact doesn't stay in one place. It spreads across the world, into economies, into businesses, into everyday life. Fuel becomes more expensive. Transportation costs increase. Supply chains begin to strain. And slowly, people who are thousands of miles away from the conflict start to feel it. At the same time, the human cost continues to grow. Lives are being lost. Families are being changed forever. One of the fallen, an American service member, recently laid to rest back home. A reminder that in modern conflict, distance doesn't protect you. The impact travels and it reaches further than anyone expects. Back in the center of the crisis, the clock is still ticking. The 48-hour deadline is getting closer, and Iran's position remains unchanged, firm, defiant, unwilling to give in to pressure, which brings everything back to the same question: what happens when time runs out? Because ultimatums are not just words, they are promises of action. And if those actions are carried out, everything changes. The situation moves from tension to direct escalation, from warning to execution. And once that line is crossed, there is no easy way back. That's what makes this moment so heavy, so uncertain, so critical, because this is not just another update in a long conflict. This is a turning point, a moment where the direction of everything can shift. History has shown us these are the moments that define what comes next, not because of what has already happened, but because of what happens after. And will there be restraint? Will there be a pause? Will there be a decision to step back, even for a moment? Or will the pressure continue to build until something breaks? Because if it does, the consequences won't stay contained. They won't remain limited to one region. They will spread through economies, through systems, through lives. And when that happens, it won't feel distant anymore. It won't feel like something happening somewhere else. It will feel close. It will feel real, and it will affect everyone. Right now, as that deadline approaches, the world is watching, waiting, and hoping that the next move doesn't take things beyond a point where they can no longer be controlled.